We are thankful to have you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay, everyone. I guess this is it. The start of the night. And, well, you know, since it is Thanksgiving after all, and we are all supposed to have a gigantic meal, and since we don't really like turkey at the University of the Underground, we decided we will go for a couscous. So we hope you enjoy the couscous. And please do keep eating, like don't stop eating. I think this is part of the experience as well. Eat and listen and do everything at the same time. It's very much part of the DNA of the University of the Underground, actually, to do very much everything at the same time, right, Jack? I mean, Jack here is one of the students, so you can, I mean, what do you think, Jack? Do you think like you eat couscous, you do, what do you do exactly?
Couscous, Faber every now and then, you name it, we eat it.
And what else? What do you learn at the University of the Underground, Jack?
What don't we learn? That'd be a better question.
Okay, what an insight from Jack Watron, everyone. So we, we are starting by saying to all of you, right, Jack, we are going to thank everyone, right? Yes. I mean, this is what we are meant to do. We are not really, we are not really American. None of us. Actually, we do. Ryan, how do you do this thing, like the Thanksgiving usually? What's the tradition? Do we just hold each other hand and say thank you and kiss each other cheek, or what's the deal?
Whatever we feel like, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, if you don't want to kiss your neighbor, you might do it now. But if you don't want to do that, well, you know, we are going to do it for you. We are going to thank you all for joining us. We are thankful to all of you for coming tonight. It's going to be a wild night. I mean, I shall say we are starting, you know, slowly but surely with 2 panel discussion. Here we will be talking about food. We will be discussing what does it mean to eat and to think at the same time. And then we are going to then move into the main hall and we will have another panel discussion with some performances as well, spoken words by Otis Mensah here. I don't know where you are, Otis, but we really look forward to your performance, yes. And then we will start a panel on collective fear. And then basically you will have a bunch of workshops that you can take part of. And then we will then go into the wideness of the night. And we will have an amazing DJ set. This is a spirit. With Shabazz Palace. And I don't know, Tendai, you're here somewhere. But we are very grateful to have you as well. We are grateful to all of you for joining us, our panelists and so forth. We love our students as well. We are thankful to all of you too. What am I thankful for? I'm also thankful to our sponsors. We have to be thankful to our sponsors. I don't know if they are here. Do we have anyone from the Creative Industry Funds? Anyone here? Okay, so if they are not here, do we do an introduction about the Creative Industry Funds? I don't know. Creative Industry, if you don't know it, it's a Dutch cultural fund for architecture, design, and digital culture, and we are thankful to them for supporting these events that we run. We also have the Suites Hotel.
The Suites Hotel is a one-of-a-kind hotel located across Amsterdam in 28 different bridge houses. What more do you have to say?
It's amazing, right? The Suite Hotel, thank you so much for hosting our guests tonight. And then we have the hotel, The Exchange. What's happening in the Exchange of the hotel?
The Hotel The Exchange is a fashion hotel in the centre of Amsterdam with unique rooms ranging from 1 to 5 stars.
Amazing, Jack. I mean, where are our guests? How is the hotel? Are you pleased? Are you happy? Delighted, amazing. Thank you to all of them. Okay, with no more ado, what's happening? Like, build me up the. Give me some juice. Oh, this is happening, and then we are also very, very thankful to the one and only, the most amazing, the most incredible MC, the one and only drag queen, the most incredible one, the one that pretty much started drag queen as we know it. She's a friend of John Waters. She basically has been doing and running events called Midnight Mass all over San Francisco, and she's joining us from San Francisco to host the night. She's a board member of the University of the Underground. Here is a wonderful, most amazing, the incredible Peaches Christ, and you're going to, woo! Thank you, Peaches, woo! Push me up, woo! Peaches.
Hi, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. I might be the only American in the room. I'm not sure. Oh, there's one. Hi.
So I am thrilled to be here. I've known Nellie for years and was also thrilled to be asked to be part of the University of the Underground. So you guys look gorgeous over there. Hi, ladies. And so I want to get this conversation started. For those of you that are in it for the long haul tonight, I will be your hostess. Nellie and I will guide you through the evening, and hopefully you won't get sick of me by the end of the night, because you're going to hear a lot. Well, you love me now, but just wait. You just wait. All right, so this first panel conversation is, like Nellie said, all about food, and we have incredible panelists with us. I'm going to introduce them briefly right now. First, let's hear it for the writer, curator, critic, and founder of We Make Money, Not Art. This is Regine Debatty. Here she is. Join us. Next up, we have from the Rotterdam-based food collective, Eat Art. It's Lucas Tax. Here he is. This next woman is a designer and oyster shell archaeologist, doing incredible things with oysters. Let's hear it from Marlene Stappers. And our last panelist is a baker and artisan cake extraordinaire. It's Debbie Aitatis. All right. So are there enough stools for everybody and microphones?
Maybe you can tell where they come from.
Do you guys each want to say where you come from? And also, why don't you say where you come from? But also, the first talking point was just really like, how do you work with food, or what is your work about, really?
Do you like the couscous?
Yeah, the couscous is amazing. The couscous is amazing. Oh, how do you?
Are we on?
Oh, yes.
Testing.
Yes.
Yeah, the couscous was lovely. Yeah, the grapes were great. Like good cut. Yeah, they made it. But yeah, I'm like you said, I'm a Dutch designer from the Netherlands here. So I'm very local. I'm like 20 minutes out of the city. Yeah. So hi.
And tell us just, I know I gave a little bit of an intro, but how do you work with food, and what do you do?
Well, what I do with food, actually, I go through the garbage. What I did, I grabbed the oyster shells right out of the bin, and saw some magic in there, and made it into these fossils. So I have some samples that we can pass around, and if you have questions, come up. How about you?
She has samples right here. So actually, because we met earlier, I can tell you this is completely fascinating to me, because she takes oyster shells and turns them into these tiles. So check this out. They're gorgeous.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right, so Regine?
So I'm Regine Debatty. I was born in Liège, in Belgium, but now I live in Turin, in Italy. And the question is, how do I work with food?
Or generally, if you don't work with food,
I don't work with food. So I write a blog that looks at the way artists, designers, and hackers use science and technology in a critical and socially engaged way. And quite regularly, food comes into it. So that's one of the angles that brings me into food. And then I have to tell you this anecdote, because I'm a vegan, and so far, I used to be a very happy vegan, and I've been vegan for a number of years, and I thought, I was eating my tofu in peace and very, very happy, because I could see that as the years went by, there were more and more offers for us, for vegans, in supermarket, in shoes, etc. And then less than a month ago, a group of cyber activists from France asked me to be part of a group of people where we engage on social media and try to dispel all the myths that surround that's around veganism, because apparently we are a bunch of very dangerous terrorists and members of sects, and of course animals are absolutely not exploited and are really delighted to be slaughtered. So we try to do that, to dispel the myth with humor and being nice and understanding. And that's when I realized that actually people hate us. Like at least in France, there is the lobby of hunting and the lobby of the meat are very powerful, and so yeah. That's how I managed to sneak in this panel to do a bit of vegan propaganda, I'm afraid.
Well, why not? And Lucas?
Yeah, hi, I'm Lucas. I'm from Art Collective based in Rotterdam. We use food as a medium in all our installations, dinners, workshops that we do. And we try to challenge the perception of food and the system behind it. So what we do is to sort of try to break with the conventions that are out there and look at the questions that we can have about the future, about how to involve innovations, technology, sustainability, and towards a new food system. And this translates into different experiences where we really thrive on interaction as well. So there's we don't want to press any future or thoughts about food on you, and we notice that it's easier to accept and to come to new ideas of food when you're all involved. So we really try to speak with the installations and the dinners and all the various projects that we do. We try to really speak to certain empowerment about what your position is in all these debates that go around food, if it's veganism or if it's when do I feel happy with food. All these sort of questions you can have about food, that's really the material that we work with.
And Debbie.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Debbie. I'm the owner of Studio Happy Story, and I make cakes. And I started as a designer. I'm by profession a graphic and interior designer, and I try to incorporate as much as my design in my cakes. And the base is that I just want to make people happy, and I think desserts are the way to go.
Debbie, I just have to ask because one of the other panelists brought samples.
Mm-hmm. No, sorry.
No?
No, I'm really sorry.
Thanks for nothing, Debbie. I was like, oh my God, we're gonna have cake. Okay, just couscous. So the event, tonight is named after the Greek goddess of food and agriculture, Demeter, who looked after grains and fertility, and was known as the goddess of the harvest. And one of the things that some of us were talking about before the conversation tonight is this sort of idea of food in relationship to ceremony. And especially for me today, because I'm not celebrating Thanksgiving. Well, I guess I am. I'm celebrating it with you. But in my mind, that's kind of a weird ceremony in terms of what we're celebrating and the way that we acknowledge it. But also just in terms of culture and the way different cultures eat or share food. And so I guess I was wondering what you guys thought about that, as far as why do you think we have these sort of ceremonies around food, even just every day, as far as it being a social event. One of the analogies we made earlier was we don't get together as humans and use the restroom as a group, or do other things that we need to do to live. But food, eating, this basic thing that we as people must do every day in order to survive, has a lot of ceremony around it, and it's specific often to cultures.
Yeah, I'll jump in and maybe go a different direction, but stop me if I go too far.
Okay.
The thing that we work with, at least as Eat Art Collective, is that food is well, we can see it as only food, but it's often so much more than that, because it touches on topics as health, or it involves in a lot of ways in how we manage our society, or how we build our cities, in transportation, in all these different ways that we work around food. And it's a very challenging time. I think that's what we touched upon before. With global warming, with climate change, with different resources, people having so many different opinions about food. I think the thing we didn't touch upon was how science is being viewed as an opinion, also when it comes to food. So it's really hard to decide, you know, where you stand towards food. But we all eat every day. So for us it's really an interesting sort of first thought, like, okay, we all eat. So what do you think about it? Why do you eat this? Or you know, everybody has a personal and emotional state when it comes to food. And there's so many different, very inspiring rituals or uses around it. But we all we talked about this disconnect between we have this global food industry, for instance. It's a project we're working on now. There's this global food industry, but also we cook at home. So where does this? How do we merge these different worlds, these different cultures, the different values of these different ways to perceive food? It's really mind-boggling to me. Why we have them? I think it's still nice to eat together and to get involved into everything that touches us in that life.
I think because of the necessity of food, it is a thing that connects us all. We all need to eat, and we all need the food. And in the different cultures and the way we handle food is all different, but there's one thing the same: it connects us, and we all do it together. Not all of us do it together, but in a social setting, we all do it together, and we all like to share what we make and from different cultures. So,
yeah, I think it's the first comfort we know. Like the first thing people remember is like being fed by their mother, or like the thing you throw up again, and then like the thing I had, like when I moved out and like be like the student, the first thing I missed was my mother's cooking. Like I sucked at it like bad, like burning everything. Then you start like cooking with your friends, like with your roommates, and like becoming this group, you know, cooking together and inviting people over. It's this comfort you get to know and then want to share. But also, like Lucas is talking about, the politics behind food. Like you get this whole new perspective that grows and grows. It's the same with my project. Like everybody's like, oh, oysters are this luxurious like item I cannot buy. But the truth about it is, it was like a cheap ass food. Like you used to go into the ocean, get your oysters and get your protein. But now, because all of this politics got involved, it became expensive. But yeah, and now again, like how I do it with the trash, I get like the shells of the oysters and make it into something beautiful again, that it's still, people have this wanting over it. But everything, I think, starts with the comfort of, and the comfort of home, from home cooking,
Okay, I'm going to be the discordant voice, because I think in French we say you live in the land of the bisounours. That's true, some of it is true, but on the other hand, there is the opposite trend, where more and more people, including me very often, you should see my keyboard, we eat in front of a computer. More and more people, we don't think, we just grab a sandwich and then we walk to our appointment. We just don't have the time to cook, we don't have the time to get together and to share a meal. And I know there are still moments, but they are more and more exceptional. And I think the culture in France and the culture in Italy, it's still quite alive. And I think this mindfulness that some culture has might explain why they are a bit less obese, but that's another story. But while listening to you and your bisounours stories, I want to bring mine, because there was, if I think about food and an art project, there are several projects that I think are amazing, but there is one by, and I think it's the food we've been eating that reminded me of it, by, I don't know if you know Michael Rakowitz. One day, like a few years ago, his mother, who's Jewish Iraqi, told him, well, it's weird, we're living in New York City, And there is this big Iraqi community, and yet there is no Iraqi restaurant. And it turned out that if you live in the US at the time, I mean a few years ago, and you were from Iraq, you didn't want to advertise Iraqi restaurants. You would write Mediterranean restaurant. People were a bit ashamed to say they were from Iraq. So what Michael Rakovitz did, he set up the Enemy Kitchen. So he bought a food truck, and then he found a chef from Iraq, several chefs from Iraq, and they would cook traditional Iraqi food, and then they would tour neighborhoods with the Iraqi chef, but also with war veterans from the US Army who had fought in Iraq, and then they would offer the food to anyone who wanted to eat, and because it was a moment of sharing and it was non-threatening. It meant that people could have this conversation, they could ask questions to war veterans, to Iraqi refugees, and so, you know, overcome all the prejudice and start to build up another understanding of Iraqi culture, which people knew about it only through what they said on the TV news. So yeah, that's the kind of contrast to my gloomy intervention.
Well, I think that actually segues into something that we hadn't talked about before, but I think is really important to acknowledge is how much food is connected to our identity and how we identify in the world and then how we communicate, right? So I grew up in Maryland in the United States. I live in San Francisco, and so Dungeness crab is what's served in San Francisco, but I grew up eating blue crab, and I'm very proud of blue crab cakes, my mother's blue crab cake recipe. I love sharing it with my friends on the West Coast, and the seafood I grew up eating is really how I identify as far as, you know, food goes, or, you know, sharing it. My partner, who's Turkish, is really proud of all the cuisine that his mother made him and he grew up eating with. And I was sitting here going, oh God, I hadn't thought about how much food is connected to our actual identities. And just the fact that someone would be afraid of sharing where they're from, you know, and so they disguise or, you know, kind of have an umbrella term for the name of their restaurant, you know, it's sad because it's about identity, right? And so I don't know if that's a topic you guys would care to elaborate on.
For me, it's really about the global trends we see. I think we talked about the interconnectivity that we have nowadays with the internet. You know, I can go online and cook a Lebanese food and then an Afghani recipe afterwards, and you know, I can reach all that culture or that identity with a few clicks, and it's really interesting if we look for, yeah, I often keep busy with, like, you know, how are we going to change what we're doing now, because it's not very sustainable. If we continue this way, we might have, so what are these possible futures that we see, and how can we make that more personal again? How can we reach our own personal food philosophy maybe? What really interests me in food? What are the values that I want to celebrate? Maybe if you come back to ceremony again. Is it the comfort? Is it yeah?
If I look at the cakes I make, there are a bunch of cakes that I make for selling, and there's one specific cake that I only make for my wife. That's a Caribbean cake that my grandma taught me to make. On the other hand, if I have friends over for dinner, nowadays I usually tend to make Caribbean food just to introduce them to our way of cooking and to our way of eating. And that's me passing part of one of my cultures to the people that I like and love. So.
Oh, Nelly.
I mean, we have to wrap the panel, but I just feel like shouldn't we ask them about, you know, something that you know very well? You know, your idol, Divine. What did she do in the Pink Flamingo movie? Because I just feel like to finish the food panel, we should really go with the end, right? Like, I mean, you eat, then it goes to, you know, identity. Yes, of course, you know, we reflect our identity. But, you know, I mean, after all, eating is also a form of digestion. You know, your couscous right now.
Yes.
Where is it going to end? And actually, something very relevant to the University of the Underground.
Are you asking for bathroom habits?
No, I'm asking for the afterlife of the food. That's what I'm asking for, because we have had all this debate at the University of Zanagon about the toilets and how they are being taken care of. I mean, it's a big thing, right? Like, I mean, at least for our community here, how we deal with that. And I mean, do you want maybe? But I mean, we have had a whole
What's your
conversation
answer,
about.
Peaches?
No, but I mean, the poo is a big, like, divine with one of the first drag, right? Was eating dog poo at TV. Pretty much. And I mean, anyway, my question to you was about afterlife. Like, you're obviously dealing with afterlife in a very unique way, making it a piece of
sustainable. Making it last. Yeah, I think that is like the big question everybody wants. Like, live forever. Like, that's why plastic surgery is such a hit, I guess. Yeah, no, I know, but yeah, for me with food, in relation to food, with the oysters, I want it to last forever, but I'm passing this on to you.
I don't understand. Are we talking about shit or afterlife?
Yeah,
I think Nelly wanted to bring up shit as part of this conversation. That's what I'm getting. But I will say that so the reason the shit conversation might be in the air, I'll just say, is because yesterday I met with some of the students at the university, and we discussed, some of my favorite things and influences, and the topic of Divine came up, the drag queen who I idolized, and famously at the end of Pink Flamingos, the movie, she notoriously did eat dog shit as part of the film. Now, I don't think she actually ate it as part of her regular diet. I think it was just for that scene in that movie, but I guess the point, maybe, I'm going to try to connect this, Nelly, you really fucked us, is that the reaction to that film and that scene in particular was so visceral, because I think all of us identify with a palate and food and connectivity, that people then said, you'll never believe what this person does, and popularized that movie, I guess. I don't know. Did that work? Anyway.
I would like to...
That's my best stab at, Good job, Nelly.
Come in about shit and food. What we do, there's still a dream with the collective to get more into this subject and see where this barrier lays. But it's really about breaking conventions, I guess, would be then a nice segue in what are we used to. We're all familiar with eating together, but we rarely talk about how our poo comes out, which actually tells a lot about our health or how are we dealing with. So it's interesting. How can we look at food in different ways, how we can see things in new light? Maybe we should talk about poo, maybe not, because it's not very appetizing. I'm glad everybody's finished eating. But there's a challenge in looking in food in different ways, which, well, maybe this is the topic she wanted to address, but yeah.
Well, I think honestly with poo you can see how someone eats. You can see how many fibers they eat, how liquidy food they eat. There was this photographer, I think, I heard it 3 months ago. She lives in Brabant. She photographed her poo for 30 days. It's somewhere on the web. I can send you the link. So but you can really see the change in how it started kind of runny and then became a whole different thing at the end because of the way she changed her diet.
Yeah, I have a good one as well. 2 days ago, I
You wanted to talk about poo.
2 days ago, I
wanted. Go ahead.
You want to hear this. So, 2 days ago, I discovered that in Italy, near Bologna, in Piacenza, which is a really cute city, there is Il Museo della Merda, the Museum of Shit. And that looks really, really horrible, but it's actually a guy who's an artist, but also has been a farmer for many years. He's quite old. He worked with Andy Warhol. I don't know exactly the story. And he's actually trying to recycle, because he had cows and he wanted to recycle their shit. So now he makes objects, including plates, in not terracotta, but he calls it merdacotta, which is a mix of cow's poo and clay from Tuscany. So yeah, if you go to Italy, you don't know what to visit. There is the Museum of Shit in Piacenza.
Good to know.
Yeah.
If I
Yes?
it's a way, I think, in what you suggested. The afterlife of food is also looking back at maybe what we digested before. I think that's the main thing I could link there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, it's sort of an interesting way to take the conversation from a beginning, a middle, and an end. And so, there we go. The next panel conversation is exit strategy. So, this might tie into that as well. But, I hope that wasn't a shitty finale to this conversation. But we do have to wrap things up. We're going to stay on this timeline. Let's hear it for our fantastic panelists who led us in a great conversation. Thank you, everybody. We're going to give you instructions on what's happening next. I'm gonna hand it over to Nelly.
So basically, we stay and hang around for a bit more. You can discuss with our lovely panelists. And then in about 30-ish minutes, we will move to the next space to hear Otis telling us about his collective fear. So that's that. That's the plan.
All right. So basically, we'll keep you posted, but
And drink as well.
hang out and drink, finish your food, and then we'll move together. Celebration. All right.
Hey. And our lovely students here, they will be running lots of events in this space as well over the night. So you can see in your program as well, there will be lots of things happening here in the rest of the evening. So hang around there, move around, do your life. Go and shit in our toilets. Anything you need. We are thankful to you all for tonight.